So, is it okay with the voice or not really? I see you're confused. Especially, yeah, it's okay, no? Oh, no, okay, now probably I'll need to eat that. That's gonna be... Okay, now it's better? Okay, great, thank you. So, yeah, great. Welcome everybody on the session that is very much related with forensics because we're going to be getting into different areas in the operating system when and where we can get evidence. Now, what is interesting is that we're going to have a look into places that aren't very obvious, and I would like to show you an attack scenario that isn't also very obvious. The problem with this attack is it always works so far within the organizations when we do the pen tests. And I would like to show you how eventually to find out, or what could help us to find out that that attack actually happened. Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of interesting cases. In general, to summarize, we will go through several areas where the evidence can be found, plus, of course, our scenario to find out if these places actually work. Yeah, so that's going to be the flow. 45 minutes, super intense session. Hopefully you are ready. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So get yourself like a deep breath, and then basically we're jumping into forensics. Yeah, couple of words about myself, because I have to introduce myself. Paula J, as you see. I got a very much business-oriented role, which is CEO of our company, which is always very funny for me because, well, technically I'm the CEO. I'm always laughing because I do technical projects together with my team. Our company, as I was mentioning today in the morning, finishes this month 10 years. So we are in 4 locations, not really far from the Netherlands, which is Switzerland, Poland, New York, and Dubai. And our team, because some of you were asking how big we are 20 people. It's a core team, and we sometimes laugh because we cooperate totally with 36. So these are the rest is contractors, so 16 is contractors. They think they are independent, but they work for us 4 weeks per month, so they are not really independent. But this is basically the team's picture, yeah? And not everybody, of course, in a team is technical. But the technical guys and girls, they do different types of research in security. And we do also forensics projects. That's why this session came out. In general, I'm also speaking at the different events, as I already mentioned. And this is something that is also quite interesting. If you follow our blog, which is secureacademy.com, you will find different types of tools that I will be speaking about today. We wrote a bunch of tools for forensics. You may find them useful because Windows 10 structure for some of the data blobs has changed. So there were no tools, so we wrote one, so you can download them. All of our tools are free and they are downloadable. You can use them for whatever you want. Hopefully it's going to be education. Yeah. Let's move forward. So whenever we are thinking about the scenario, like where the evidence is, how the evidence is stored, could this be found, and so on, there's one story that actually comes to my mind, and that is the story of a little bit of a forensic job that we were doing in Europe. And this was basically in one of the factories. What appeared is that a couple of servers of that factory, they were like crashing every single month or a certain time. So it was actually quite oftenly happening. Yeah. So there was this one beautiful day where 3 out of 3 domain controllers for that factory totally collapsed. And that factory had a problem. They lost approximately 4.5 million euros, which is quite a nice car, isn't it? And they were not happy. Who would be? Yes. Hey, we lost 4.5 million euros. Yes. So basically, what was the situation is that, making the long story short, it appeared that their internal person, so the major domain admin, was actually the person that was getting paid from the outside for sabotaging the company. Yeah? The factory stopped at the time for 2.5 days. They had a problem, so they called and they were like, "You guys come now." And we're like, "Oh no, because no, no." Yeah, so we packed ourselves into the plane, we flown to the place, and then we started the analysis. What was funny is that this guy was actually pretty smart, but there's always a but somewhere. And basically, what is the conclusion is that we were able to find the evidence, and this was starting to be interesting when we found no evidence. And this no evidence, and by this I mean that this guy, because we've analyzed his laptop too, had the event log, and that event log had interrupts in time of recording when something was going on. Yes? And it's not that we can modify EVTX. We can actually, and we also wrote a tool for that actually. But what was happening is that this guy was booting up from the pen drive, and he was performing his operation from the pen drive system, yes, of the live USB or whatever. And then when things job was done, then he was booting up, and he was like nicely working and smiling to everybody when he was sitting in his admin room, which actually surprised me. But again, it's a matter of perception. When we get to the place, he was the one welcoming us so warmly. He was like, "Welcome," and I was like, "Wow, what a nice guy." And then it appears that he was the bad one. Yes. So what's the point? Is that this is something that triggered us to do a little bit more research, and we made a memory dump of some of the machines that was out there, and this was the memory dump of the machine that had the event log cleared. And in the memory, we still could find the remaining part of the event log where we could find some confirmation of his actions. Yeah? So this guy, if you wondered what happened, he was actually not really fired, because it's really about the PR at the end. But he was dismissed because his position was no longer needed. Yes, I mean, domain admin no longer needed. It's a nice excuse. He got paid 6 months in advance, and they said goodbye. Yeah, so this was the end of story. But what was the conclusion is that there's pretty much always something that you can find, because it's really a matter of who is smarter. Is it hacker that is smarter, or is it us that are smarter? Yeah, and it's always about that. It's always about that. Could we delete the evidence, like totally? Of course we could, yes, but it's really a matter of spending your time on it, and in a stressful situation, we don't always keep the cold blood to delete everything that could indicate that attack happened. So this is what gives the story for the beginning of the presentation, yes? So we're going to be checking out all these interesting places, not the obvious ones. I don't want to give you the obvious ones. I want to give you interesting ones that are related to stuff that is on the disk and stuff that is also in the memory. Let's start with a little bit of theory. Whenever we are searching for the trace on the disk, there's a couple of things that we should look at. Yes, one of the things is, of course, the user's profile. Yeah, so this is an easy gain. But does it have to be there? Well, no, because the first thing hacker will do is probably to delete his own account if he or she has an account at all. Yeah, so it could be the trace. So it's really a matter of who is smarter again. So things like Prefetch files. Let me just dig into interesting ones. So if we've got the Superfetch service running, then we're going to have Prefetch files. This was actually one of the situations when customer in Switzerland called myself, and they were like, we've got a ransomware, help me. Yeah. So it was like, we don't know where it comes from. It's encrypting the drive. We can see the files alive being encrypted. We don't know what to do. Yeah. So one of the things, of course, to find out where the stuff is coming from, if you do not have process tracking on a good level in the organization, is to check out Prefetch files. Yeah? So Prefetch files being modified, different names, strange names. Could we name Prefetch file a notepad to cheat a little bit? Of course. Then we will have problems with finding it, but still it will be possible. I will show you, because we're going to make an attack like that. This is my favorite, by the way, automatic destinations. This is related with whatever you open within the applications. We call it automatic destinations, or we call it also forensically jump list, JMP list. JMP list, it's a cache of whatever you ever opened. So if you ever have this kind of document that you shouldn't open, it's going to be there in the cache in your history from the very beginning of your profile in the domain. Yeah, I will show you that too. This is how we found out. This is an Icelandic not cool case, where there was a guy that was accused of a childhood pornography, and he thought he deleted his data, but one of the things he forgotten about is that he was opening files with strange names through his Windows Media Player, and this is how we were able to find that there is something that has been opened like that. It's not an evidence though, because it's just a name. I could put any name of a file. It's not, doesn't mean that the content was like this, but it's an indicator that something like this was happening, yeah? And so on. So this is basically, or these are interesting data structures that we can dig into. Hyperfill, it's also quite forgotten file, because if we do use hibernation, please remember that if you plan to use hibernation, which I wouldn't, but if you really like hibernation, use it with encrypted drive, yeah? Because in the hyperfill.sys, we've got the whole dump of the memory, which includes, of course, our hashes or passwords if you do not use credential guard with Windows 10. Yeah, and for the local accounts, it doesn't matter because it's password and hash is going to be there. Yeah, so let's have a look at some demonstrations because theory is theory. Let's jump into the technical part. So data on the disk analysis. Let's have a look. One of the first things that I wanted to show you, it's going to be related with, of course, something that we call Windows Indexing Service. This is something that takes lots of space on our disk. And sometimes we rebuild our index, and that's totally fine. But what is important is that we know where is it, and we need to know as well that it contains the full history of what we are getting into. Yeah. So I started my console, and let's dig into the place. So first of all, when we have a look at where the Windows Indexing Service is about, so let's just do this and CLS. We need to go to Program Data, yes, and we need to go to Microsoft. Here we go. And we need to go to Search. Great. And we need to go to Data, Applications, and then we've got Windows, yeah? There, yes, and this is the place, where is it? As you see, my indexing database, it's pretty huge. Yeah, I've got 11 gigs. And when we rebuild the index, this is pretty much where this data is gathered. This is growing, obviously, because indexing service means if we had some files somewhere, indexing service's job is to know where this file is on the disk and put this information over here. Now, how to copy that? Well, it's a short presentation, so I'm not making any excuse, but I just want to give you the clue. This particular Windows EDB file, of course, it's locked. We cannot copy that because of the, as we call it, non-share handle. So only one guy can be connected to this process. Therefore, we need to create the shadow copy. And to create the shadow copy, yeah, you can use VSS admin on the server, or you can use the PowerShell on the client. Because on the client, if you use VSS admin, it only allows you to list shadows, not to create shadow, okay? So this is complete solution. On the server, it's super easy. VSS admin creates shadow for, and then C drive, let's say. But on the client, you need to struggle a little bit. So this would be the way of performing the copy. So I already made a copy. As you see, what I did a symbolic link. So mclink will build in Windows tool to see shadow copy. And this shadow copy will be able to review. And this is my goal for you for today. So what kind of tool we are able to use to view that particular indexing service? An answer for that, it's very simple. A, let it be free. B, it's going to be the one that we're going to use from Nearsoft, yes? So ESE database view, that's the one. And ESE database view, sorry, you can download from Nearsoft. As I mentioned, it has a different data structures for the C Analysis Windows EDB. I copied this one over there. And I've got, for example, GTR PTH. One of the structures, we can make it a full screen. Why not? Or let me just use this one, or we could use GT HR. It's maybe a little bit more interesting. It opens for a little bit of time because my indexing service is big. Here we go. But here, you've got every single file that was in the disk. So if the hacker puts some kind of a file over there, you're going to know that it was there because probably indexing service already grabbed it, yes? So we can search for something here, yes? Mimikatz, yeah, and then we are able to find out some kind of stuff that is related with the Mimikatz, yes? For example, as you see, I had some stuff like boarding pass, I was flying somewhere, and so on. So this is my disk. So this is a live example. So all this stuff, in general, within the database, we are able to fetch. Okay, so this is the first thing. Who clears Windows indexing database after the hack? That's my point. It's not an obvious place to delete. Logs, okay, but not really this place. Now, let's have a look at the next stage. So what I will do, I would like to perform the attack. This attack is called SMB relay. It relies on relaying technically something that we call an authentication challenge. So we've got the following situation. We've got workstation and we've got a server. Now, they are, but they don't have to be, connected to the domain. But the thing is that this is not Kerberos what's going to work over there. It's going to be NTLM version 2. Yeah, so alternative version, which, by the way, we should start to get rid of if we got an opportunity. But the situation works like this. Client wants to connect to the server. Server says, no problem. Yeah, this is your challenge. Just a blob of data. Please encrypt it with your hash. Okay, and I know your hash, so I'm going to compare, and if it's going to be the same, you're going to get a session. So client is like, okay, thanks, encrypts it with their hash, here we go. Now, if someone does the RP poisoning within the network, this person is like, oh, thank you so much for this blob encrypted with your hash. Now I'm going to take it, and I'm going to forward it to the other server, and I'm going to authenticate over there. And you know what's worse? It works. Yeah, that's a problem. And it's a problem with a big P. I have no idea why nobody really maybe not nobody, but there are people that are talking about it, but it's not really a problem that is getting fixed with time. And that's a problem. And I can tell you that this year, I don't remember that when we were doing the pen test with our team, we did not manage to get into the infrastructure by SMB relay. Yeah, you always manage to get to. Yeah, so that's the problem. Let's see. So this was going to work like this. I got over here Kali Linux setup. It doesn't have to be Kali Linux, but let's keep it this way so that everybody can get Kali Linux anyway. Yeah. So what I did over here, I specified two things. I created a payload first. So this is the Metasploit payload creation, and then I'm giving this payload to the victim, which is 10, 10, 10 to 50. Yeah. So I'm serving this payload to the victim. On the other side, I've got a Metasploit console running. When I'm not doing anything special, I just listen. As you see on the very much top line, exploit multi-handler, that means that I'm just listening to the incoming connection, yes? And this payload here, this guy here, will simply speaking connect to here, yeah? Now, what am I waiting for? I'm waiting for administrators to connect to the servers by using IP address. Yeah, why not? And this triggers NTLM version 2 authentication. Now, the funny part is, how long do we have to wait for that to happen in the network? In enterprise, 15 minutes. I mean, it sounds really bad, but I was doing a couple of weeks ago Pentas on Bahamas. Horrible place. I mean, nobody wants to go there. Working there is just awful. Everybody is totally laid back, relaxed. That's not my environment, yeah? Anyway, so whenever we are thinking about this, Monday, yeah? This is my time for SMB relay. You start your attack, you wait for admins being super eager to find out what's happening on the servers, get access to different data and so on. Silence, yeah, silence, yeah? They're not working, yeah? It's like, I'm like, where's my NTLM version 2? And then I'm like sitting with like chicks, red chicks in front of my like laptop, and nothing is happening. And after lunch, they were like, oh, finally, let's do something, yeah? And then I managed to capture the longest time ever in my life. I waited for anything to happen in the network, anything, yeah? So this was the case. Anyway, our network is quite easy because we can trigger that situation. So let's dig in. So I'm starting this, starting the relay attack right now. And over here, I will do exploit, which is kind of funny. We are not exploiting anything really, but it's just a name, yeah? We are running something, so it's better. So let's do this, exploit. And now what I'm going to do on my other side, I will, on one of the servers, trigger just the communication over the IP address. So backslash, backslash, and then I'm giving the IP address. Let's see what happens over here. Yeah, so basically this. Good. So we've got a session opened. We do PS, and we are already in the client. We search for something that is running as a system. So this is process ID 3452. 3452. I have to be fast. Oh, crap. Okay, let's do that again. Hopefully, we're going to be on time because we've got like 15 seconds to do that. So that's why I was like focused. We're very lucky. So we managed to get access to the computer, yeah? Shell. And then, of course, we can see IP config. We are already on 10, 10, 10 to 50, and we are as system. There is no vulnerability in this, yeah? It's not a Windows vulnerability. It's just how it works, yeah? Welcome to NTLM version 2 world and SMB not being signed, which is classic. SMB is signed for domain controllers, of course, but not for the other computers, yeah? So if you do not have the port security configured, if you do, awesome. If you do not, then that's a situation. If you don't have well done code execution prevention, that's a situation, yeah? So, okay, this is set. Let's find out what is happening on the client side, yes? Again, so this is our client. This is the guy that was attacked. Yeah, now your call, guys. Where do we check for? I don't know. This guy has just been hacked into. Where do we go to? Suggestions. Event log, that's too much information. Besides, who likes it? Yeah, nobody likes it. So let's don't go there. Okay, something else. Process Explorer. Okay, good. So I have over here actually Process Hacker. Let me just do that. Yeah, I'm gonna run it as an administrator for you. Why not? Yeah, so that we can see a little more. Now what? Yeah, we search for different processes. Yeah, I guess this is the goal. Okay, so we review like what is not cool. By the way, we have verified signer over here. So we can review, or maybe we can be nice and do that. And then we can see like Mimikatz, okay, that's not this. This is not this as well. Like, this is actually not the stuff that we are searching for. The rest, it's signed. That's a problem, okay? So please remember what we did on Linux. We did migrate, what was it? 3452. 3452, yeah? So there is the process like this, 3452. And this is this guy. But we are in this process. Yeah, so how can we check this out? This is my point, and this is my point over here. Yeah, but okay, so we don't know really that we should look into this process. That's my point. So we kind of don't know what we're searching for. So what could be our starting point? And my point for that is that there is really a very nice need of a prefetch in this machine. So I want to know what actually executed, because there is no magic. I had a payload. I have to execute this payload somehow. So there has to be something executing somewhere, yes? DLL will be running through run DLL or through SVC host or whatever, yeah? So there needs to be some executable carrying for us this executable code. So this is something that I'm pointing to. Now, can we have a look at Prefetch? Totally, yeah? So if we get into C Windows, Windows. I will show you one more thing. Prefetch. Yes, this is the one. So we can search by the date modified. I got a different date over here. So this is the 330. So we can just jump like this. 330. 330. This is over here. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, so I see some different processes. Now, just because it has a weird name, it doesn't mean it's dangerous, yes? Absolutely. Yeah, this is something that we could spot. Yeah. Now let me find in Linux, just for the picture for the analysis, a little bit of information here. So there is this XTK something, YEP. I don't know why, but let's have a look. So we've got this. So yeah, so indeed, these are these guys. So how could we know what was executing if we didn't have any process tracking turned on or prefetch turned on? Yeah, luckily prefetch in most of the workstation is on by default, but this is something that if you do not have a process tracking that you gather, prefetch, it's an everlasting database of how many times we were actually executing things. So let me show you something. So we're going to take one of these files, copy, and I'm going to put this into tools, bring it on, and let me start the command line. So I'm just going to use maybe a new one. We don't have to be an admin for that part. No, okay, tools, CQ prefetch parser, and CQ prefetch parser is our tool that we wrote because Windows 10 has changed the structure of maintaining prefetch. Any tool that you used for the prefetch analysis before will work, but will not provide you the maximum information from the prefetch files. There is another tool that is available as an alternative. This website is called TZWorks. There's a very nice guy that lives in US. His name is David Tomczak, and he writes tools for forensics, though we have to pay for them, yes? So that's why we needed this actually for our job, so we had to write our own. So let's have a look. So CQ prefetch parser, we can specify the file, and this was the YEP, and we are able to specify -a, and that gives us an analysis of what this file is about, how many times it was running, and it was running only one time. Yes, so we are able to spot this one. We are also able to spot different types of DLL. So if malware is called Notepad, that's fine, but Notepad prefetch, for original Notepad prefetch, will differ from that particular Notepad malware, yes, by the list of the DLLs, and this is how you can spot that this is wrong. Now, we could be thinking, oh, hold on, I got like hundreds of thousands of servers. Doesn't mean that I will need to dig in through prefetch. No, well, no, that's not the situation. This is only if we need it, yes? In general, we should have a very nice process tracking configured over here, and this is what I would like to talk about later on too. So let's dig in further. What kind of other interesting stuff we've got over here? So just to summarize, in this particular case, we were able to find out information because there was a prefetch enabled. It's just a key in the registry. And now I'm sure that you are dying to see of what. Let me just start the console as an administrator this time, because apparently netstat requires administrative privileges, which is funny. Netstat minus a and b, maybe, and then more. No, a and o. Let's do a and o. This will be much, much better. A and o, more. I'm sure you're dying to see the connections, yes? So please have a look, because netstat is one of the biggest liars of this world. It says that there is a connection established, actually two connections established. One is on the process ID 1980, and then it's established, don't get me wrong, established, yes? And another one is 1560. Great. So let's have a look. So if we do sort by the process IDs, yes, we've got 1980, was it? Yeah, so does not exist. Another one, 1560. Let's be nice. Hopes are gone, yes? Nope, nope. How can we trust netstat? It's a rhetorical question. We don't need to answer or just say no. So this is basically the case. Of course, don't trust netstat. Netstat is lying in many other situations too. Very often it rounds up things to system. If you want a better tool for the network connectivity, Procmon could help here, but the best of the best, it's a Graal in knowledge. It's Xperf with the flag of the network trace. And Xperf is free. Xperf is by Microsoft. Who knows Xperf is truly the boss, because Xperf is very difficult, but at the same time, it will provide you the 100% knowledge of what's going on, because Xperf listens to directly something that is called ETW, which stands for Event Tracing for Windows, which is the best and the only platform that makes, for example, NATO to use Windows for full accountability. Yeah, so this is the setup. Okay, so this is a little bit of a summary. Now, what else do we have that is interesting out there? Well, basically, we've got automatic destinations, and I promised that we're going to jump into it, and let's do that. And that particular automatic destinations thing, it is within the user's profile. And having this in mind, we need for that purpose an application, because this is just, or these are just data blobs that are quite not cool for analysis. And I'm going to use for that purpose something that is called Structured Storage Viewer. If you wonder if we are waiting for something to open here, no, this is the app. It's not the prettiest app ever, but what we can query from this app, it's the information from the user's profile. Please have a look. These are the links we are talking about, yeah? So we've got a C users, Paula, for my profile, app data roaming. So this is also information, and this is also very funny. If you've got a roaming profile, this is information that you store somewhere on a file server. So not only you can know what you've opened, but other people who have access to your profile also know what actually documents do you open, yeah? So I don't know what you think about this, but you may not want to show what do you open, yes, to everybody else. So you may want to delete this one day. So we've got a Windows recent automatic destinations. You have to type the whole path, yeah? And then these identifiers, where do they come from? This is an official list that you can find on the Forensics Wiki. So Forensics Wiki, if you search for the jump list, contains the big list of identifiers that are officially assigned for different types of applications. And it's not only Microsoft. If you use Notepad++ or something, this also has its own identifier. Yeah? So for example, this 9B, 9C, this is the beginning of the identifier for the 64-bit Notepad. Pretty much, if you type Notepad, this is what we open. Yeah? So let's dig in. So I'm going to use this. Now, let me just check one thing, because this is my life stuff. Yeah? So as you mentioned. So this is, I opened this one, for example. This is okay. So I've got here D-Data. So this is a D-Data desktop 2016. That's my way of archiving files every single year. Control-A, Control-C, and for the certain folder. And then we've got GFI TXT, for example. Yeah. So you don't really see the context of the files, but you see the paths and the file names. Yeah. So if someone opened that file ever and someone claims no, that is one of the evidence that you can look at, and a very not popular place to delete. Yes, because who would delete this kind of innocent cache? But this is the story. Now, what else do we have that is interesting? Let's dig in. Also, if you, for example, are on Hawaii, browsing your servers through internet cafe, you are connected through VPN, I mean, it doesn't really matter. What is important is that if you use remote desktop connection as a first session somewhere, for example, yeah, then there is a cache gathered into the local profile. And that cache is quite interesting, and I was always interested in what we can find over there. So let's dig in. We've got a little tool. I mean, I will give you the background, but the background is quite creepy. My husband is partially developer. He works for Secure. I'm the boss, so everything is okay. But sometimes he's nice to me, and he writes different types of tools. Yes, this is the tool that he wrote on my name's days. Oh, so cute, yeah. I'm not trying to be funny. It's actually true, which could be also considered as sad, I think, right? So let's move forward. So I'm going to load over here a cache for the remote desktop connection. So if you go to AppData local this time, Microsoft Terminal Server Client cache, there is always a file. And that file can be bigger, smaller, depends on how much do you RDP. And RDP in general, and I'm sure you've noticed that if you go to the properties, you can adjust the quality for the network speed, yeah, for the bandwidth. That quality, what is this quality about? We're going to get less information? No, the pictures that you're going to get is going to be, they will have less quality, so they're going to be compressed. So that's why when you've got slow connection, RDP gets a little blurry because the compression gets in. Yeah, so this is a very nice protocol if it's about quality management of the communication. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So that pictures are cached so that when you have slow connection or fast connection, it's actually optimized so that the same grid doesn't have to be downloaded every second, but there is a certain grid that is downloaded, and it's only refreshed if it's changed. Yeah, so in general, there is a grid. So grid isn't very regular. It's not puzzle. It's just a very messy grid. So I've opened the file. Now I'm going to decode it. And it depends on the RDP client, different types of resolution, yes? So this is actually quite a messy thing. But we can get into, we change the grid in general, the code, and that's going to be a little bit better, yeah? So you just double it. And depends on the network, on the remote desktop client, you can change these parameters. So this is basically what is cached in everybody's profile if you do RDP. If you type some password, and it was a password in a text file, because I mean, I know what customers have on the servers. They got a text file, sometimes they got password to connect to the database, to connect here, there. I mean, we see that pretty much every day. If this once appeared on the screen, and it was through remote desktop connection, it's gonna be in this cache file, yeah? So this is in the, this is basically in the profile of the user. What the user was, what the admin was browsing? Oh, yes, thank you, yeah? Okay, so here we go. So we can spot, we cannot make a puzzle, we tried, I mean, believe me, but that is the maximum we could have out of that, yes? Or, yeah, how much logical we can get about this. But anyway, so this is the stuff, but we can read things, yes? And eventually, you are able to make a puzzle in your mind over here, yeah? So these blocks will come together. So this is the cache that we are having over here. Okay, good. So quite interesting locations. Now, what I wanted to show you as well is that we've got also stuff like NTFS journal, yes? Quite oftenly forgotten. Hackers, they don't rather clean journal, and in journal you are still able to see what's going on, yes? What is important to remember in general in the journal is that journal contains information about if someone changed the metadata or not. And why this is important, and let me explain. Well, basically, I got over here, so let's use just an example maybe for the explanation. I got over here just like an E drive, and I've got over here data, and I've got here 1,000 files. As you see, they were created in 2010, which is, by the way, not true, but let me explain in a moment. Just like a simple data, nothing really special. And over here, I've got like something like this. I can change this. Real data. Okay, we can do that. And of course, that metadata will change here. Yeah, so it's right now 2017. Not rocket science. Now I want to show you something. In general, in malware or in different types of hacking tools, it's a typical technique to affect metadata. So we are like, oh, we've been hacked, I think like a week ago. Let's search for all the files that are 1 week old. Yes, that's totally bad approach, because the first thing I would do is to change the metadata of the file. Every single file that is placed on the disk consists of 3 important blocks. One is name, another one is data itself, so the content of the file, and another one is the one that we are talking about. It's called standard information. And standard information, it's a block with metadata. If you sign executable, and if you modify the content, obviously you're going to lose the signature. But if you modify the metadata, you will not lose the signature, because metadata, it's not a part of a signature, only data field. Yes, so name and standard information can be changed as much as we can. So what I want to show you, first of all, let's get into our eDrive and so on. So let's find out that we've got indeed these particular files over there. Yeah, here we go. Okay, good. So I've got these 2 types of files. Let's just group them by the last write time. And as you see, one of the files stands out. Okay, because I have modified that. Yeah, so this is super clear. Now, what is disturbing is that if we do get member for the get child item, here we are able to see that one of the properties, or actually 3 of those properties, but the properties of a type time, has something disturbing at the end. What is that? Set. Yeah, okay, great. So I can set all of those 3. That's my point. So not only creation time, which is already weird, okay, last access time I can understand, but all the other ones are also to be changed. That's because they are part of the same field. So why don't we just change this? Yeah, so that is exactly what I'm doing. And it's a simple operation. Get item, so I'm taking 1.txt as an example, last write time, and then I'm doing that for each file in E, last write time, and so on. They should be basically like the if it differs, then it should be exactly the same like for number 1. Yeah, so let's just run that. Awesome. And then let's just find out what kind of, so we're going to get over here, group by the last write time. I think it will be the best thing to show. And right now, I don't have 2 files, but I only have 1, or 1000, yes, but only 1 date. So what happened is that, yes, indeed, we have changed this 4.txt back to whatever we wanted to, yes? That's my point. So in general, we should not, please do not, trust the metadata of the file. Trust journal. Now, are there any good tools that are free? Unfortunately, there is one that is free, but not good. And this is fsutil. And if the journal is on, yes, then we can query the journal. fsutil usn read journal eDrive. Then we're going to have a lot of mess. And every single file, it's like in Linux, we've got an inode for the file. In Windows, we also have an identifier of the file on the disk. We can see over here that 4.txt with the certain identifier, yes, and we've got also file ID, and that's the one that we are talking about. We've got a basic info change, yes. So this is how we are able to trace that A, there was a file like that, B, something affected this file. Do we see who did that? No, that's not the information that we are able to get from journal. How can I know who changed my file? Answer is very simple. Install Sysmon. Yes? And Sysmon is free, and Sysmon is good, which again rarely happens. And this is something that you can download from sysinternals.com. Mark Krasinovich and Thomas Garnier wrote it. Yes? Let me show you how we are able to digest this kind of information, and also not that. I will combine the process tracking together with the network, and hopefully you will find that useful. I will do this again on my laptop. I would like to show you that it's totally fine to update configuration of Sysmon, install Sysmon on the live server just out of the blue, just like that. Sysmon currently, it's in a version 6.10. Previous one was 6.4. Where are the other versions? Nobody knows. But that's the situation. So let me get to my Sysmon installer. So Paula documents Sysmon. Good. Yeah, and Sysmon that I have. So this is a 6.10. Everybody in our team has this. Do we have customers running this? Totally. The biggest customer that we have running Sysmon is a 25,000 computers. They are gathering information from Sysmon with Splunk, and they are fetching this information within the OMS. It's actually pretty cool setup. Let's see. So Sysmon, just to show you how fantastic it is, I can uninstall this if I want to. This is actually working as a mini filter driver, so you can load it and unload it anytime. Let me install it back again, yeah? So let me go to Sysmon install, and Sysmon, I can install just like this, yes? This is a bad installation example, so Sysmon -I, because it installs Sysmon just with the basic monitoring rules. So just with the process tracking, process creation, termination, but metadata tracking, so this is good, and pretty much that's it. That's not really enterprise-related approach. Why don't we just create some configuration file and get what we want? I have here my own configuration file. It's called config XML, and this file looks like this. Technically, we should even change this configuration to this, because this is the new schema. It doesn't really matter at the end, but if you want to be super accurate, it's how it's supposed to look like for the new Sysmon. And over here, we are able to see Explorer, LSAS. So these are the processes that are monitored, and I'm only monitoring those for the create remote thread. Network connect, here I'm, as you see, excluding. So network connect, exclude means I'm monitoring all of the types of information that I can get, yes, for the network connectivity. Let's check out how this works. And the logic is kind of maybe strange, maybe not, depends what you like, but exclude nothing means include everything. Okay, fair enough, yeah, fair enough. So let's update the Sysmon configuration, yeah, so I can save it, that's fine. So Sysmon -C config XML, configuration updated, bang, working. Now, what we need to check, it's what kind of information do we gather? And this is the first thing. Second, how we're able to extract this information from the event log to actually make it useful for us. So let's find out first, in the event log, what do we have? So we've got applications and services logs. We've got Microsoft. We've got Windows. And then we go, and then we fetch Sysmon, yeah? Sysmon, perfect. Operational log, we got this. So this is basically the situation. Now, network connection detected. Lovely. I've got 40,000 of events, not too much. So if we have a look, what kind of stuff was this? Maybe not that interesting. Let me just find something more interesting here. See, okay, we could be SVC host, but if you have some process like Internet Explorer, or for example this one, yeah, for example this one. Yeah, so this is the Canon, like a scanner that we have in our company, yeah? So this is the guy, and we've got a source IP address, so this guy was trying to make some kind of a communication. And I got that, yeah? This is beautiful, because this maps us and fills up the gap in between network, where do we communicate, who do we communicate with, and where do we communicate from. And it's not a workstation, it's per process. And we can go deeper than that, actually. So let's see how I'm able to digest this information. So, no, not this. Let's go this, CLS, okay. Now, for that purpose, I will use our exporter for the network, CQ Sysmon Net Analyzer. And CQ Sysmon Net Analyzer will allow me to, first of all, get this log. So I'm going to copy just this so that I don't have to type it into text file. So let's do that. The CQ Sysmon Net Analyzer, dir, so we specify the directory for the log, C Windows, and then we put, sorry, System32. Come on. Okay, System32, Win EVT. I can do that. Okay, logs. Okay. Now we're going to do output file, net.txt. Let's do that. And then it starts the analysis. And in general, when you've got approximately 100,000 of events, we have optimized it for approximately 20-second scan. So this is basically the time. If you gather all the logs in one place, whatever, 100,000 of logs, then it's going to take some time. But in general, this is very much predictable time, yeah? So you are able to analyze it this way. Let's see what happens next. And what I will do, I'm going to take this net file into, for example, Excel. So let's dig into that. It takes it's a little bit more events apparently. It gathered more, but that's okay because if it's gonna take some time, oh, it didn't. Okay, so let's just get this net. And on my side, I will quickly put this data alive into the data import case. So I'm gonna import data from text. Let me just take this. So we've got the documents, and then we're gonna use Sysmon, and then I'm gonna use this net file, net.txt. Here we go, open, come on, come on. Yep, and we just do literally next, 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 finish. Yes, okay. Yep, and this is basically what we got over here. And I'm coming with this file here. Yep, let's just be nice. We can create a table on the top of that, of course, where we could filter out all the different processes. If you wonder what's this is my machine name, so it looks really weird, but that's just underscores. Over here, we've got, for example, destination hostname, destination IP address. So this is basically what we care about, yes? So sometimes it's like 127 and so on. So we can copy this, yes? And this is something that we can fetch through one more tool. And this is the tool that we didn't write. You can also download it. It's a free tool. So let me just get into it. I'm going to get into IPNet info because this is the name of the tool. Okay, and we've got this one, just super close, IPNet info. And IPNet info will allow us to do a very nice analysis of what's happening with the certain IP addresses. Yeah, so that's going to be the case. So I'm coming over here with this, and here you are able to see. We're going to paste this data over here. Control V. Good. And at the moment, so when we're going to do OK, this will start to technically get into information about what kind of different types of owners we've got. Let me just reconnect because apparently I got disconnected from the network. So that could be the case. Well, you see what's going on, yeah. But in general, this should be working in a second. Yep, perfect. So we can technically get these IPs again, and this will be, yeah, receiving data. As you see, we've got it all working, yeah? So from now on, it's able to tell us who is actually the owner of the IP address that our guys were communicating with across the whole organization, yes? So this is something that fills up the gap. Yeah, pretty cool. Of course, we could be like, yeah, but I've got 100,000 of computers. Yeah, but then maybe you should use another solution. But Sysmon, we've already proven that enterprise-wise, it can also deliver us valuable information. And you don't need to monitor SVC hosts, don't get me wrong, yes? You can build a bigger filter file, the config file. If you know the Twitter guy, it's called Swift on Security. If you search in the network, Swift on Security, like Taylor Swift, the singer, yeah? So, so this is the Swift on Security. And you put Sysmon next to it. The first thing it comes out in a browser is actually the sample configuration file he created. Maybe not the super 100% great example that's going to work for you, but I believe 80% of this file will be already done. Yes, the rest you're going to adjust. Very nice setup. Okay, so this is basically the flow. Yeah. In general, summarizing. Are you still with me? Yes, good, very fantastic. Summarizing, so what kind of stuff do we have? Some of the data, it's not obvious to gather, as we already know, yes? So we've got things like USN Journal, we've got Prefetch, but at the same time, it's important to have something proactive, yes? So Sysmon, I showed you because it's free, it's good, and the only problem we used to see, was with Kaspersky, but it's solved already, yeah? You just need to make tests, because sometimes, but very rarely, we could see that with some of the services, because Sysmon is a driver, there was a blue screen. And again, I don't want to scare you. I'm just giving you the worst possible scenario. We've seen it only twice. Yes? So that's like nothing. So this is the case. In general, remember that every forensic should happen first with imaging. Yes? So before we start digging into data, you should create an image. And memory goes first, this goes second. Yes, this is the order. We've seen different types of mistakes done. This customer that I was mentioning at the very beginning, these guys did not preserve any evidence, by the way. They just recovered domain controllers in place from the last backup. Yeah, and we came and we are like, okay, where is the evidence? Where are the images? And they're like, Yeah, no incident response procedure at all. So that's another case. Create incident response procedure, because every hack, it's a very stressful situation. People they shake hands when they do things because they are so nervous. How can we think clearly? We can't. Yeah. So in general, we should have this piece of paper and the tools always ready. So USB stick ready, in order to collect this evidence. Another tip at the end, when you create incident response procedure, please do not forget to have a couple of the pile of empty drives with you somewhere in the closet, because the funniest part that happens so that someone is supposed to collect the evidence, and we participate in different situations like this, is that customer calls us like, oh, okay, guys, we have to help us because there is a hack, how to collect an evidence. And we're like, first question is, okay, please prepare like the drive that is big enough to have your whole disk image and your whole memory space to be saved on the disk. What do you recall having a pen drive of like good couple of hundreds of gigabytes with you? Yeah, it's like, oh, where I'm gonna get it from? I have to delete these movies, or oh no, these documents, let me copy them first. Like, it's horrible and funny. So we need to have in general that kind of a free space out there. Yeah, funny in a way. It's funny to cry. And so yeah, this is the situation. Yeah, and of course at the end there is much more different types of places. Please have a look. Forensic Wiki is a fantastic source for fetching more info about this subject. At the end, of course, as I was mentioning, don't forget to check out our new quiz, which is quiz 2.0, secureacademy.com/quiz. We do provide only free content over there, different types of tools, videos. Every week we issue a video, so with like some technology. So this is the setup. And at the end, because some guys were asking, we do run once a year like an online training. This is Advanced 2018. And we only do it once a year. So it's an online kind of academy to participate, to suffer for 6 weeks before Christmas. If you wish, then it exists. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. If you will have some questions, I'm standing over here. I'm happy to answer, and so much appreciate that you came. And I wish you a great conference. Yeah, thanks so much.